Hey YouTube, welcome back to Dwayne's World. So I'm very excited about today's video. I gotta tell you, today is part 2 of the Allett Liberty 43 review. So if you want to see that stripe action, you better stay tuned. I'm very excited about being able to use the Allett Liberty 43 today, part 2 of this review, which might be the most important part in my opinion, just because it is really all about the performance. Now the one thing I'll say is if you guys are following my channel, I really appreciate it, but you probably have seen my video on the overseeding. And with the overseeding project, I did use the Allett. I used it for its scarifying cartridge and I used it for its verticutter, which worked out absolutely great for the renovation on my front lawn. Now, even with that being said, I did do an equipment part 1 of that video where I kind of highlighted the equipment I would be using for the overseeding. And in that video, I did do a 6-blade versus 10-blade comparison of the Allett. However, I was not happy with that video, truth be told. And it wasn't because of the content itself. It's because of the state of my front lawn at that time. I don't think it really gave the Liberty 43 its just due on how well it can potentially perform. Number one, the lawn was in bad shape. Number two, it's only 750 square feet. Now that might be appropriate for a 17-inch reel mower. But at the same time, I just felt like, mainly because of the condition of the lawn, I couldn't show you guys what that mower was really truly all about just during that video clip. So today, we're going to have a much better opportunity to really be able to put it to the test. One of the things I will be doing is I will be using the 6-blade cartridge first. And the reason why I say first is I will also try the 10-blade. And I don't necessarily want this to be a video about a 6-blade versus a 10-blade because that's not the purpose. The purpose of why I'm choosing the 6-blade to go with is because that's the default cartridge you would get if you were to purchase the Liberty 43. So that's kind of how I want to envision this video. Because the 10-blade is more of an option. You don't have to get the 10-blade, and even in some cases you may be throwing your money away by purchasing a 10-blade if it's not necessarily necessary for your application. So in most cases, a 6-blade is going to be fine. Generally where a 10-blade is really going to shine is when you're cutting below 3/4 inch and probably closer to that 1/2 inch range as far as your height of cut. In most cases, people do not cut it a 1/2 inch because that requires a lot more time, a lot more dedication to be able to maintain that height of cut. So really, unless your height of cut is there, which mine isn't, so even then, I'm not necessarily going to get the best benefit of using a 10-blade. The only benefit I see right now, which right off the bat without even using the mower, is it looks great. And as I highlighted in my previous video, I was all about that as far as the way the 10-blade actually looked in the Allett. But for today's video, let's go ahead and start with the 6-blade and let's get it on. All right, so I got to do it. An orbital spin around the Allett Liberty 43. So I just want to mention a couple things before I get into today's mow, is that I will be doing a double cut. Not because it needs it, but because of the fact that I want to be able to try out both the 6-blade and the 10-blade. So I'll run the 6-blade in one direction, and I'll run the 10-blade in another. The other thing I'll be doing is I'll be running my mower, or this mower, at a number 2 setting on the Allett, which is a 3/4 inch height of cut. So I think that's going to be right for my lawn, but at the same time, a 3/4 inch height of cut on this mower may be different than any of the mowers I use traditionally on my lawn, such as the McLean or California trimmer. And then lastly, is that I will not be using a grass catcher. And that's simply just because of the fact that I want to be able to show you guys what the reel looks like when it's actually in action. And if the grass catcher is in place, that would be a little bit difficult to do. All right, I just want to give you guys a quick look at the way the lawn looks right now before we get in on any mow action. Overall, I'm really happy with the green. Our temperatures have still been fairly warm. We've been in the mid 70s to low 80s on some days, even to the high 80s on other days. And the Bermuda is still holding on to its green. My problem areas are still my problem areas, as you guys can see there. So I don't anticipate that those areas will come back this year, as they won't. It's just not enough growth to really be able to spread and fill in like it needs to. But at the same time, I think the lawn and the way it sits now with the color is going to give us a great opportunity to be able to try out that Liberty 43, which I'm very excited to be able to do. I think in this next coming week, I'm really going to see a hit to my Bermuda just because we will be getting into the 60s. And at that point, I'm sure the Bermuda is going to start checking out a lot more than it has right now. All right, and with that, let's get our mow on. All right, first pass down. Definitely have my thoughts, and I'll share them after I go ahead and do my second cut here. But let's go ahead and take a look and see how it looks. Oh yeah, definitely loving that stripe action. This mower can absolutely lay stripes. That is something it knows how to do very well. The one thing I want to point out, let me turn around my camera. All right, so there it is. Sun literally came back out after I turned the camera, which was good to see. So stripe action definitely looking on point. You know, one thing I just wanted to point out that took definitely a lot of getting used to, and I'm still not used to, is the 17-inch reel. You know, that is one thing I absolutely wish this reel was wider, but it is what it is. So that took a little bit of a learning curve to be able to understand what the right spacing was between each of my lines. What I was finding, and why I actually went through an extra battery or had to get another battery, is I kept having to go back over the same passes again because I would miss leaving grass behind at the edge of my line. And I had to go back over it numerous times on multiple different rows to be able to fix those things. Now, I knew I was going to do a double cut, but at the same time, you know, I didn't want to necessarily leave that for you guys to kind of show you guys, you know, how this lawn would look with a single cut. All right, so we got our 10 blade installed there. Definitely still had a lot of grass on the mower, but I'm not going to do a full cleanup yet until I actually go ahead and do the second double cut. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look to see how well the 10 blade performs. All right, guys, I gotta be honest with you. I didn't make this up. I'm not making it up, I swear to you. This is really what happened. I went through the first battery, swapped it out, went to the second battery. Now that I'm on the second battery's almost dead. The first battery, for whatever reason, is not charging. I don't know if it's because it's too warm and it needs to cool down first before that battery can go. Now, these batteries are not brand new, so it's not like Joel just bought this mower and I'm using brand new batteries. You know, the batteries can be a couple years old now. But at the same time, it's like one of the points that I brought out in my first video is that batteries do have a lifespan. And I don't know if that's exactly what's happening here or if it's just some other fluke. You know, it's just a reality, I think, a lot of times of battery-powered equipment. You know, there's been times where I forgot to charge my phone, forgot to plug something in, and then I couldn't use it the next day and I was frustrated, right? I think we've all been there. This is an example. Like now I cannot finish without charging the other battery again, my lawn, you know, and I don't want to necessarily go inside for 30 minutes to an hour and then come back out and mow my lawn. I want to do it now. But at the same time, let me go ahead and show you guys what it looks like. So there we go. Half double cut. Oh God, it's embarrassing. Let me go ahead and turn the camera around. All right, so here we go. Half double cut stripe action. Oh man, I don't know if this is an episode of Dwayne's World or bloopers, But at the same time, you know, I want to be honest with you guys on exactly what I'm doing out here. So as you guys can see, you know, it kind of does look pretty cool though. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not just saying that just to kind of, you know, look at the situation as a glass half full type of situation. But, you know, it kind of reminds me of like a lot of baseball fields where they do like the stripe action in a different direction, you know, once they get to a different part of the lawn. So, you know, the one thing I will say though, and I don't know why this is, and, you know, maybe it's not coming out as much so on the camera, but at the same time, my double stripe action by forming that diamond cut looks like it went away. You could clearly see the stripes, you know, towards the back half of the double cut where it has not been double cut. But in areas where it has been double cut, I really lost a lot of that stripe action where I thought that was going to definitely stay in place. You know, one thing I will say is because of the fact that I'm using this 10-blade cartridge, it definitely is heavier and it's put more weight on the front of the mower, which has lowered the height of cut. Yeah. Now, maybe if I ran the Allett with the 6-blade in both directions, it probably would have looked better. So again, most of the time, you're probably not going to use a 6-blade on one direction and a 10-blade on another, but I wanted to be able to try out both blades. And this is kind of what happened because I did that. So I won't say necessarily that the 10-blade cut better. In fact, in a lot of ways, it cut worse because it's scalped. You know, where I wasn't getting that with the 6-blade simply because of the weight. But that had more to do with the height of cut than it necessarily had to do with the quality of the blade. They're both very sharp blades. You know, Joe always does a great job keeping his equipment in tip-top shape. You know, so those things have been grinded, they've been backlapped, you know, so it's a very, very sharp mower. And it works very, very well. You know, I'm very happy with the way the quality of cut looks. You know, I think it does a great job in cutting my lawn. But at the same time, there's going to be those things I'm going to talk about now in my final review here of the Allett that are definitely disappointing. All right, guys, so let me show you what's going on here. So this is the 4-amp-hour battery, which is the one that's giving me the problems. If I press this here, I'm not getting any battery indicator, so it's showing that it's actually dead, you know, and I knew that because I used it all up. Well, let me show you what happens when I put it on the charger. So right now the 5-amp-hour is plugged in. It's been in there for probably about 10 or 20 minutes or so, and it's showing here that the power indicator is on, which is there, and it's showing the red light is actually charging. So that's what we want to see now. Now I have 1 bar. So at least, you know, I know it's charging because it was actually not reading anything previously. But let me show you what happens when I plug in now the 4-amp-hour battery. All right, so if you look here, and I now have the 4-amp-hour battery on there, as you guys can see, it's saying that it's actually fully charged, and it's not. So when I go here, and I'm trying to click this, obviously this is showing no battery. So this is where, again, it's not charging. Now, I don't know if it's because it's overheated. It doesn't feel too hot right now. I don't know if there's something wrong or defective now with the battery. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put the 5-amp-hour back on the charger here, and then later on I'll go probably ahead and finish up the lawn. However, I'm not going to necessarily stop this video or not include this in this video because it's the reality of what happened when I mowed with a battery-powered piece of equipment. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have battery-powered equipment and never have this problem. But at the same time, as I go through my final review, I'll kind of share my thoughts on why exactly this happened. Guys, so let me give you a little bit of an update. So I went back inside after I wasn't able to finish the mow because I had to wait for the battery to charge. So once it charged, I figured, you know what? It's a beautiful day today. Let me get back outside and finish up the mow. So that way I don't leave my lawn kind of halfway done. So I come out here and I mow, and I'm finding that the more I mow, the more I'm scalping. So this 10-blade cartridge absolutely makes a huge difference when it comes to height of cut. So you absolutely want to pay attention to those kind of things. If you happen to have both the 6-blade and a 10-blade, you may want to adjust your height of cut to kind of give it an offset. If I had to guess, it's probably that the mower, even though it's set to 3/4 inch, is probably cutting closer to 5/8. That's my guess. Could be a little bit higher than 5/8, but I think we're off about 1/8 of an inch because of the different reel. Now I know that sounds weird, but it definitely makes sense when you think about the weight to the front of a mower. Now, the other thing I just wanted to point out, and I know it's kind of difficult to see from this angle here. Let me come around to the other side of the lawn and show you guys what I'm talking about. One of the things I did is I came around to the other side of my lawn because of the fact the sun is now on the opposite side of the house. So as you can look here, you can see stripe action there, which actually looks pretty good. Not the best, but I would say it's decent stripe action. Let me flip the camera around and give you guys a better picture of exactly what I'm talking about. So this is what I want you guys to see. If you notice, it looks like there's lines. Now those lines are not even. So basically meaning, and I'm gonna stop right here, so I think this is kind of where you would see it probably best. If you look, there's clearly a slight height of cut variance at the edge of each of these runs. Okay, so I've heard of other Liberty owners complaining about this, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with the reel or the bed knife. What it has to do with is the weight distribution on the mower. because of the fact that the battery, motor, and everything sits towards the right side of the mower, if I'm looking at it, that's putting extra weight on that side. So I think some people, what they've done is they've actually added weight to the other side of the mower to kind of offset it. Now, this is just probably a design flaw, but at the same time, I'm not sure exactly why I did not see this as necessarily when I was cutting with the 6-blade. And maybe it just simply has to do with that weight. You know, the fact that the 10-blade reel is heavier in combination with the fact that that mower is off-centered the way it is, maybe those two things together just kind of create a bad formula. Now, the one thing, even though I know I said other Liberty owners have experienced the same problem, it's not only people with the 10-blade. There's people that have a 6-blade that have this exact same problem. And as you can kind of see right here, this is an example where it's scalped on one side. But if you come to the other side, it's clear that it's fine as far as the height of cut. So had it been level, this would not have scalped the way it did. Now, of course, I did not want to scalp this time of year just because of the fact that it's going to take a while to grow back. Here's another example, as where you can clearly see there's a height of cut difference between right here and right there, the difference between one pass and another. Those things I think are important to bring up. You know, I can say that in some cases it's probably worse when your turf is really thick, but at the same time, I never really have had those problems with my other mowers. So something I had to bring up. I would not have seen this had I not come back outside and finish up the mow to be able to add to my review. So good thing and bad thing because of the fact that now I'm actually able to show you guys. All right, so let me try to sum this up for you guys as quickly as I can. Would I purchase the Liberty 43? No, I wouldn't, not for me. And it's because it doesn't fit my application. The reel was too small. It was hard to mow 7,000 square foot with a 17-inch reel. Can't even imagine some people that have done that with a manual push mower when they're mowing that kind of square footage. So it does not work for me. The battery, you know, I would need bigger batteries. So the ones that Joel had just didn't necessarily do it for me as far as what I would need. And you guys saw through the video what my experience was there. I would want to have a mower that I can get through at least one cut with one battery. And I wasn't really technically able to do that. So that's kind of a deal breaker for me. The other thing I would probably say is the cost. You know, it's a lot of money to be able to spend $3,000 to $4,000 when you add in cartridges and batteries, you know, for a reel mower. But even outside of the cost alone, and there might be people that are willing to spend that kind of money, and I would be willing to spend that kind of money pending I saw a return on my investment. And I just don't feel like I would get that return on the investment because of the fact that the cartridge system, although it's great, it's a pain in the butt on the Liberty 43. So, and therefore I would probably not use it as often as I should be using it. But if you're somebody that is about cultural practices and doesn't mind that process and wants an entry-level cartridge system mower, the Liberty 43 is probably the way to go. You know, I would definitely recommend it for somebody that probably has a smaller lawn, less than 3,500 square feet. You know, as somebody that really wants to verticut, scarify, and reel mow, to be able to get good cultural practices, to be able to limit the amount of fertilizer and herbicides, just like they do over in Europe, to be able to get a great looking lawn, it might be the right mower for you. Even the battery power is a great selling point. You know, the fact that, yes, it did not work in my application doesn't mean it may not work in yours. You know, when you think about a battery-powered system, the thing I did love about it was how quiet it is. You know, if I wanted to mow at 6 o'clock in the morning, it wouldn't be a big deal. I wouldn't wake up the neighbors. I wouldn't wake up my wife. And it would definitely be worth it for me to have battery-powered. So maybe one day I would like to buy something that's possibly electric-powered just because of the fact I really like to be able to mow with it not causing a lot of a disturbance to other people. So with that, you know, that's why I would say that the Liberty 43 is probably the right mower for some people, but probably not the right mower for most, or definitely not the right mower for me. But that's why I do these things on my channel. You know, I want to be able to give you guys information so you guys can make a decision on what you feel is right for you. And it might be the right mower for you. But the one thing I will say that really did bother me, and this is regardless of, you know, whether or not you have a 3,000 square foot lawn or a 10,000 square foot lawn, is the quality of cut on that last cut really bothered me. And I don't know why that happened outside of the reasons I explained, where it could have been because of the fact that the weight distribution on the mower isn't set probably the way it should have been. And that is, you know, kind of a deal breaker for me. I can't even imagine if I spent $3,000 or $4,000 on that mower, brought it home and had that unevenness, I'd probably be calling out and saying, what are you going to do to fix it? You know, and I'm not saying they wouldn't fix it, or they maybe haven't fixed it for other people in the past, but that is something that a lot of people I know have complained about. And I saw it firsthand for myself. I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't see it on my front lawn, And I didn't see it when I used the 6 blade. For some reason, it was only when I used the 10 blade. And I can't answer why that is, because I know other people that had a 6 blade also had that problem. So again, I hope you guys found this information helpful. I love being able to do these reviews for you guys. But if you ask me, Dwayne, do I purchase a Liberty 43? I would say no. Call Scott over at Triangle Reel Mowers, have him hook you up with a California trimmer, or call McLean and get a McLean, because I think you'd be much happier with those mowers, especially if your application is very similar to mine. And with that, be excellent and party on.